it is very, very critical to note that under his, when he was the DM, he achieved the unique distinction of making Mayurbhanj as the first district in the country to have this status, that is child labor free. The campaign was documented by UNICEF and ILO, and I was privileged and lucky to have done that study for the ILO. He has been a TEDx speaker and has held multiple very critical positions. His last assignment was as Director, Special Projects, Odisha Livelihood Mission, Panchayati Raj and Drinking Water Department. Before that, he has been CEO, Odisha Skill Development Authority, and Director Employment. He has served as collector of three districts, Koraput, Kandhamal, and Mayurbhanj. And what all transformations he brought about, we shall hear it from him. He has also been a SDM and has many, many awards up his sleeves that we shall get to know as we talk to him. One of the unique, he's done his master's of statistics from Pune University, and among others, he has had global experience across the world. One of the great things that many of you would know about Sri Rajesh Patil is his book called Ma, I Have Become a Collector, which is the bestseller in 5 vernacular languages, which is Marathi, Hindi, Odia, Gujarati, and Urdu. It is also published in English by Harper Collins. A great family man, Rajesh ji has been a doting father and a caring husband. I have had personal opportunity to watch him while I was doing this study in Mayurbhanj. Thank you very much, sir, for being here with us. We shall begin by, and we'll not call it an interview, but a dialogue. So bureaucracy for you, sir, has typically been a tool of empowerment. Your Twitter bio also reads that obsessed or compulsive people's person. And this is evident from the way you have worked in your different assignments. Help us gain your insights into bureaucracy, how you have used it as a tool of people's empowerment, which is also the topic of today's broad theme of today's discussion with you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Navneet, for kind words. And such a fantastic initiative in the form of Bureaucrats India. I think this platform will certainly help to kind of bring about the stories which are otherwise not there for the public consumption. And many of these stories are actually they inspire so many other people to kind of follow those initiatives and replicate them, and it also creates positive vibes as well. Having said that, during my 15 years of career as a professional bureaucrat, I have seen this opportunity of serving people with a lot of humility. And I feel any public position, whether it is a political position or be it a bureaucratic position, it is an opportunity to create an impact. It is an opportunity to, transform society. It is an opportunity to uh, change the way people live. And many times, while working, uh, there will be assignments and there will be tasks which are uh, which are being reviewed and which are being focused by the uh, appropriate authorities at the higher level. But there are innumerable other aspects in our work whereby we can expand our activities, and we can create a vision, and we can see that a lot of changes can be ensured looking at the context existing in our ecosystem. So I feel it's your understanding, your commitment, and your desire to passionately work for the people, that is very very important. And I think in bureaucracy at any level you do get that opportunity, and you have to value that those opportunities. And I feel if we have that attitude, then certainly at any level we can see that those kind of transformation happening. And throughout my career so far, I have been able to kind of see that any assignment, looking at the context and looking at the problems, I have tried to expand those I mean uh, span of activities rather than limiting it into a routine activities, so that the scale is big, the transformative changes are visible, replicative, and they create some certain kind of impact in the society. So that is what I would say.
Excellent. I hope the viewers, participants today will get to hear more insights into these aspects. आप कैसे वो करते थे, वो बड़ा अच्छा insight रहेगा, sir. You come from a very humble background, sir, and one of the important reasons we launched Bureaucrats India was to also, like I said, celebrating stories of good governance. You also said, and also celebrating positivity, bringing to light, bringing into public domain stories of uh, how people have made it to where you have made it. So help us, take us through your story of the trials, tribulations, and triumph. It will be a nice recall for all of us.
Yeah. So basically, my story is a story of perseverance, story of hard work, and it is story of India actually. So I come from a very humble background, having been born to a family of a marginal farmer and farm labor in the North Maharashtra in a small village. The life was very very difficult. It was difficult to kind of come out of that environment, to overcome the poverty, overcome all kind of you know obstacle to reach out to somewhere where you can actually make something out of your life. And during that phase, I think the kind of uh, the values my parents used to carry, even though I was not a very sincere and uh, hardworking kid. In the beginning of my childhood, I was quite brat and uh, very mischievous kind of a child to handle for the parents. But their perseverance and their own life and values ensured me that slowly those values get inculcated in me, and slowly I started believing in those values. And when I uh, crossed my matriculation, by that time that maturity and the surrounding also gave me a lot of insights. And then my reading habits and my exposure further inspired me to kind of do something for the people from whom or from where I have come. And that fire in my belly continued. Later on I did my plus 2, then graduation. Even though I was in a position to get admission in the best of the medical engineering colleges, my parents were not able to afford me that education. So the situation was so bad. But nevertheless, I took it as a challenge, and in that journey, I tried to prove myself that if you have to do something for the people, then you have to first of all go to the position whereby you will be in a position to do something. And then I realized that the public service is something which gives me a very good platform. And the uh, uh, beauty of the country is the institutions like UPSC uh, and the fair processes, that it gave me fair chance, and I, with a lot of difficulties and uh, irrespective of frequent failures, and finally I could get into IAS, where I wanted to join and then serve the people. So all along this, it was not very easy. Uh, there were points when, there were occasions when there was every chance to, kind of back out and give up. Like when I was doing my masters, our house was mortgaged where my parents were staying. And then after masters also, I had other opportunities to join some other jobs, but still my parents kind of supported me that we will be in difficulties for a few more years, but you pursue your dreams. And there were innumerable number of people who inspired me, supported me in this journey. So it was, I think I was privileged to go through this. I would never say that it was something which about which I am very proud. There is no iota of any kind of a feeling of uh, being born in that environment. Rather, I would say because of that, I become more human, more humble. My clarity about so many issues got developed, and which actually helped me in my later career. And I think that is what it was all about.
It's wonderful. Those are, it left me goose pimples, that stories of resilience, determination, and focus, not to budge despite adversity. And my next uh, question was around that. You have already answered that. Other than high dose of adversity, as I call it, what were the other inspiration? Of course, your determination, your focus, and the fire in the belly to do something. And that's truly the story of the new India that we see today. Uh, and having seen you work, as a collector, uh, I also think, like you said rightly, that one of the reasons you understand, become more uh, empathetic to people's problem, because of your own background, because of your uh, because of the humble background from which you come. uh,
Okay. I think his video is stuck. So you have taken a wonderful initiative in Mayurganj and about for educating students, the tribal students there. Tell us about that initiative. How did you plan that initiative and how did you go about it?
Yeah, Navneet, you are fine
Yes,
now?
I'm back. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm back.
Go ahead with your question, please.
Sweta, you can go ahead. Please ask.
Okay, so you had a very wonderful initiative in Mayurganj where you designed an initiative to educate tribal students. How did you plan that initiative and how did you go about it? It must have been difficult because
Movie,
getting students to school.
Yeah.
right.
So, see, as I was telling you, that you know, it,
You can mute yourself, Sweta. Some noise from your end.
so it's fine now. So, in Mayurbhanj, actually, what happened, uh, that when I was working there as a district magistrate, as I was telling you that uh, these positions are, when you work in on the public service platforms, you get an opportunity whereby you you have you can design certain interventions apart from the routine work. So from my own life experience and otherwise also, it always used to kind of I used to always kind of question myself as to where our country will lead when millions of children will not go to school in 21st century. Because now also, our enrollment rate, if we see, that is on paper it is almost 100%, but in reality it is around 98% or something. But if we see how many of these children they go regularly to school, then that number is very less. And if we see the average, years of education, that is one of the lowest for the country. So if we don't send children to school, even after in this 21st century, and if we don't ensure their schooling even to the basic minimum grades, then it is going to be a big loss to the country. First, second is the whole developmental paradigm is going to uh, get suffered by this whole skewed social realities. So it is very, very essential that every citizen of this country has a minimum basic education. So he may be going into any profession, he may be farmer, he may be a carpenter, he may be doing any kind of small sundry business. But unless he is educated, he will not be able to pursue his profession and actualize his capacities, and his empowerment will be always a challenge for the country. So we took it as a challenge. I discussed this with my team, and we thought about kind of going for an all-out effort to ensure that every child of the district comes back to school. So we prepared a blueprint, then we shared that with every stakeholder. We did a massive consultation exercise. Then we started implementing the plan. First, we did the extensive survey of all the children who were above the age of 6, and then we shortlisted the children who were irregular in the school, who were not going into the school, who were working somewhere as a child labor. And then we did counseling of all the children and their parents. And we tried to understand why the particular child is not going to school. So we realized that any child who is not going to school, there is a story behind his he's not going to school, and we try to understand that story. And then we, instead of not only bringing that child to the school, we devise intervention for the whole family. Sometime, the child was orphan, so no one was responsible for his education. Sometime he was a single parent child. Somewhere there was, the father was drunkard, so the mother was not concerned about the education, but she had many other challenges. Some places there was a distance, was accessibility was the problem. In some places children were not happy with the teacher, so various kind of problems were there, and we try to address all these problems. And then we devise special interventions for children who are working. We involve the community, and thus we kind of made this initiative as a kind of a mission for every person in the district. So everybody started talking about this initiative, and then we kind of involve the people's representative, the sarpanches, gram panchayats. So the point was like, when we make everybody realize what is their responsibility in the whole mess, they actually join the whole campaign. So the situation is like, we have not made people responsible for all these wrongs in our society. If we go to any school, if out of 100 children only 80 children have come, 20 have not come, we don't have a mechanism to fix accountability for those 20 children. So unless we have protocols and accountability being fixed for every wrongdoing or every commission or omission, for any kind of important social transformation, I think it is very, very difficult. And here we sometimes use, we inspire them. Sometimes we made it kind of a mandatory, conditions for their other entitlements and things like that. So the result was very good, and everyone was proud of their own achievement. Like the sarpanches were proud that they have sent 100 children from their panchayat to school who were not going to school. The headmaster was happy that a child who otherwise would not have seen this school or never thought of getting educated, he ensured that the child comes back to school. So we ensure that the initiative is owned by everyone, and that is how it was very much successful. And I think it was the idea, but the all wherewithal to make it success was already there. So I feel it is very much possible that, at this point of time in our country, why should children be roaming on the street, begging here and there, or working in hotels and dhabas and garages. It is the same for us as a citizen of this country. So we can very well ensure this, and that was being ensured in the district, and I am very proud of that initiative. Though I am always linked with this initiative, but there are hundreds and thousands of people who have given their heart and soul for this initiative. So, the contribution goes to all of them.
I distinctly remember, sir, how your passion had motivated all the district, the entire district machinery, and there was so much of enthusiasm, and how children were rehabilitated. There were instances when the parents would migrate to the nearby district for want of work, and they would be rehabilitated, rescued, convinced. A lot of counseling. So it was a massive socio-cultural, economic transformational exercise that you had done. And many of those, so we got some messages on Twitter saying that we have had the opportunity of working with him at Baripada in Mayurbhanj, and how great these interventions were. Would you like to recall some more stories, sir, before I go to the next? I also remember this 80,000 land rights to tribals in 2 districts. That's another great achievement of yours. How was that made possible, sir? If you could help us, our viewers, listeners, understand that.
Yeah, I mean, let me elaborate on that. I have worked in all the tribal districts. So tribal, if we see that, mainly their livelihood is linked with the land and the forest. And unfortunately, after independence and after the advent of Britishers in the country, we started declaring the forest as reserve forest, and uh, you know uh, we didn't recognize the rights of the forest dwellers, but they have been staying in the forest for generations together. So over the period of time, it was a long struggle for them, and for ultimately a Forest Right Act come into play, whereby this right was being recognized. So everyone who was staying on the forest lands, and they were depending on the forest land for their genuine livelihood requirements, they were entitled for the titles, and the title was supposed to be confirmed to them only, so it was recognized already. So the administrative exercise needs to be carried out to kind of hand over those rights to them. But unfortunately, the act talks about the forest right committee at the village level, and then people applying to this committee, and then committee investigating these applications, and then their applications for confirmation of title is getting processed. But if we see the nature of tribal community, their uh, you know consciousness and awareness among them, in many places, unless the effort is there, uh, everyone has not got those titles. And Odisha is one of the state where this confirmation of title has been very successful, and many other states have done, but still there are people who are still struggling for that because of lack of universal coverage of these people. So what we did was like, instead of people coming to administration, which is a very arduous task for them, we engaged the army of people, and we deployed them, and they surveyed one village to another, and identified people with the community, with the forest right committee, and thus covered every person who was entitled for this right. So no grievance was left, and no person was left to, uh, from confirmation of this right. So when I joined the district, the number was 18,000. But ultimately, in 1.5 year, we we have given the title to around 60,000 people. So 40,000 people were covered in the whole process. And then we also confirm other rights to them, like the community right, developmental rights, and for the primitive tribe, the habitat right was also being considered. So I think that that was something which warranted a very high level of personal commitment, because it was not something which was being driven or assigned to be done by me in a limited period of time. So that was an opportunity for me to correct that, to ensure that these people get the rights. So in the other district also where I was working, my predecessor has done good work, so I carried it forward. So uh, in three districts put together, it was 80,000. Uh, we also work for the confirmation of titles to the single women with the help of an organization called Landesa. Thereby, we identified around 5,000 women, the widows and unmarried and deserted women who generally depend on their parents or other family member for their support, but they do have the rights on the lands, and in case that is not available, we give them the government lands. So that way 5,000 such a needy single women were covered. So that was again an initiative whereby uh, the vulnerable section was covered. So my belief was, land is something which gives identity to the person. And having seen that from my childhood, how people value their land and how they get attached to the land, and how much confidence that gives to them in terms of dignity, living with dignity, I always gave importance to addressing these issues and taking it to their logical conclusion. So that was something I would say that as a district magistrate, I kept it as an important priority, and I ensured that all my officers and staff below me, they sincerely work for it. I myself give it due time, and in the system, that those efforts were recognized, and the people were also very happy.
It is so heartening to know, sir. And therefore, the topic of today's discussion, we kept it bureaucracy as a tool of social empowerment. And no one could do that more justice to this topic other than Sri Rajesh Patil, IAS of the Odisha Cadre 2005 batch. Many of our friends have joined on the Facebook, and which is being beamed live on Bureaucrats India. Bureaucrats India is an initiative by Grey Matters Communications to bring out in the public domain stories of good governance and celebrate stories like that of Rajesh Patil sir. Please do follow us on our Twitter handle, which is Bureaucrats IND. All right, sir. You have also conceptualized some innovative interventions like rapid monitoring system for effective supervision of the delivery of services in remote pockets, 3-tier MIS nodal meeting system for tracking important services, and activation of Panchayati Raj institutions, wall of kindness for promoting the concept of donation, gravity-based water supply and irrigation systems, and management of forest resources through community participation. Do you ever stop innovating, sir? And what is the message for young IAS officers? I'm sure you are creating a template of innovation and effective public intervention, welfare intervention, other than the defined framework, like you said, while describing the MOBI Paribi scheme. Uh, what is the inspiration and what can you tell to some young IAS officers, sir?
Yeah, very important, interesting question. In fact, when I used to sit on my chair every day, I used to think, what is that I need to do further? And whenever I used to join in any district or any assignment, I used to list out all the problems in that district and aspiration of the people. And once you do that, then trying to find solutions to all those problems will lead you to some kind of innovations. So I never imagine that any problem cannot be solved. Maybe we can make the beginning, and many times we have to go beyond the rule book. Many times we have to think of something uh, which is a distant possibilities. But if we, for the person who sits on the chair of district magistrate or deputy commissioner, a lot of things are possible for him because of sheer willingness and the aura and the kind of accessibility to that position. So I think it is always essential that instead of saying that this there are no funds and this cannot be done, uh, this is not my task, or this comes into uh, the domain of some other department, we should, because it is an opportunity, and transforming society, we need to take the ownership of doing that instead of shifting the buck to some other person or the department. So I have always thought in that line, and whenever I used to see the problem, I used to think a lot about the solution. And in that process, a lot of innovative ideas come to my mind, used to come to my mind, and some of those ideas I had grounded. And I think that is how one should work, because if one has to find out solutions to the problems, and if he doesn't think innovatively, then there is no point in sitting on that chair, because even if that person is not there, all normal works will be uh, getting carried out. So that way, I think we can bring out about transformation, inspire people. I'll give some examples. Like in Mayurbhanj, we have a very big forest called Simlipal Tiger Reserve. It is a biosphere reserve. So it has not yet been declared as a national park, because there were 4 villages inside the core area which needed to be shifted. So when we interacted with them, the people of those villages, we could realize that the expectation of the people and the offering from the department in terms of the package, there was huge difference. So then I thought, why not to supplement that with something more from the district administration. So it was the task of the forest department, but we took that as a challenge, sat with the people, and devised a package which was 2 times the package which was offered by the forest department. And since I was personally got involved, so the people had faith, and they were quite enthusiastic, and we ensure that the relocation of the villages was very successful, and uh, they were happy with that. So that could happen because, we thought of devising some additional package uh, which satisfied them. So there were elements of livelihood support, there were elements of helping for the education of their children, there were elements of making that village a model village, there were elements of sending the youth for the skill training, and things like that. So similarly, in terms of livelihood also, we experimented so many things to try out possibilities, because you know uh, every any underdeveloped area or in any place, unless you explore something, you don't know that it can be successful. And in a process, there are sometimes failures as well, but then if you can find out a way, it can lead to something big as well. So I think that approach is needed for every bureaucrat and every young IS officer who is working in the district. He has to accept that challenge. He has to uh, take it to his stride and find out the solutions, go beyond his regular duty of call, and try and do something which will set an example and which will lead to something big in future. So that is what I would say.
Sir, your role in crisis management has also been very impressive. I have read that you have successfully led the team of administration in rescue, relief, and rehabilitation of over 2 million people during the devastating 2008 Cuttack floods or 2013 fail in Mayurbhanj district. Your message to those engaged in disaster management work, what was your experience like, sir?
Yeah, I think what I have done as a head of the district or head of the subdivision during these disasters has a lot to do with the overall preparedness of the state, and a kind of modalities being developed in the state. But yes, on the ground, it is the officer concerned and his team and his leadership that makes difference. So in any disaster, the important part aspect is thinking about 360-degree about all the possibilities before the disaster. If there is a warning about the disaster like the flood, you always come to know, at what time how much water is going to flow and how many villages are going to be submerged. So many times your personal follow-up, your connect, your nitty-gritties, you follow to every in every step, instead of leaving on the other people. If you personally follow up things, then I think you can execute those plans to the perfection. And promptness is very very important. Then after the disaster, ensuring the basic services, and for that mobilizing the resources, proper planning, follow up is very very essential. So I think in all these initiatives, the state like Odisha has now got the distinction of executing this task in a very efficient manner. And I would say that uh, with our the officer concerned, with his own leadership and involvement, can certainly make huge impact, because it's not only the relief package or the financial benefit which matters, but you being available to the people, then kind of you know, addressing their problems beyond these packages is also very important. And doing that in a least possible time is very important for the people. So I think these few things are very important, and they if they are being looked into, then certainly we can mitigate the sufferings of the people and reduce the impact of these disasters.
Uh, your book, sir, Maa Main Collector Ban Gaya, uh, is an icon for aspirations. I would call it a template for success, and perhaps a holy book of how one should have perseverance and set up a goal and pursue it. Now, take us through those nostalgic moments, sir, and how this title and the idea of the book came about. Though you have narrated it to me, I'm sure many of our viewers will find it very, very uh, nice to hear it from you, sir.
Yeah. So basically, when I cleared the IAS examination and joined in the elite bureaucracy, uh, I could see that, I could do that because of certain things. Like first is awareness about these opportunities. Second is basically to kind of have a clarity about so many things. And there are many notions, many misgivings, and particularly the people, youth coming from rural areas who face many kind of obstacles and many deficiencies, so their confidence is very low. So in this world of competition, it is very, very essential that you have a right approach. Then you know what is important, what is not important. So this was one aspect I thought can be of useful to the youth who are aspiring for the competitive examination, any kind of competitive examination. The other aspect was like when I was you know I was in a village, and then I reached to Pune to pursue my higher education. All along this journey, I was a very keen observer of the society. So what is happening, how it is happening, why it is happening. So I wanted to kind of narrate that to the people who don't know about that. So be it agrarian distress, be it gender issues, be it issues related with indebtedness of farmers, be it journey at the mental level to face so many stereotypes and obstacles. So I wanted to present that in a very honest way for the uh, youth, so that they get something to churn, and then they can relate their own journey with my journey. So on one side, it is my story, but my story is only incidental. It is a story of a youth coming out from the rural India. It is story of the new India. It is story of the social realities of the rural India, economic issues in the rural area. So, so I wanted to present that to the country, to the youth. So it is a best read for any person, any reader. It is not only for the competitive examination. And the title is has a very important significance. When I was uh, it is on the day of result, when I entered into the campus of UPSC. In the rush, I also ran to the notice board where the result was pasted. And in the rush, uh, I could see that my name is figuring in the list. So I called my mother from there, and I told her that, Ma, I have become a collector, because that is what she used to understand. I used to call her as collector's mother from childhood.
True.
So that phrase is basically the title of the book. So it epitomizes the whole journey. It also epitomizes many things: the determination, perseverance, and the dream which comes to reality. So that is what it is.
I can imagine having gone through that ordeal of appearing for the civil services, going excitedly, anxiously to the Dholpur house,
Yeah.
and trying to figure out if you are there or not, your roll number, and finally your name. I think that must have been a great narration, a great story, and your book further captures. I recommend all of you who are watching this, you must read this. It has an English version also by Harper Collins, besides being, of course, in Marathi, Urdu, Odia, and Hindi. And Gujarati also, sir?
Yeah.
Gujarati also. So, wonderful. You have, sir, many. It is no surprise that when I read your biodata, it is so full of so many awards. Uh, One among that is the President of India Award for from among all 647 districts then in the country for outstanding work in rehabilitation of persons with disabilities in 2014. What was that for, sir? How did this come about?
Yeah, when I was working as a collector, so at that time I always used to think that whom for I'm working, you know. So then I realized that the people who are well off, who are already comfortable, they don't need me much. But the people uh, who are into some kind of a vulnerability, like the orphans, the differently able people, single women, or the tribal people, or those categories of people. So I realized that I I have to particularly pay attention to them and try and ensure that I do something for them. And fortunately, for all this category of people, as a district magistrate, I have tried to do something or the other. And for the differently able people, basically, Odisha is one of the state where there is a separate department for the people with disabilities. And government used to conduct special camps to deliver the certificates and other benefits to them. So I, from the days of my training, I used to do those things in a very human and very diligently, so that these people get all those benefits. But I didn't restrict my intervention there only, but I thought, giving a certificate or giving some kind of concession to a differently able person makes him, makes sense in some way, but his ultimate thing is like the livelihood. So unless we work on the livelihood aspect, the person cannot live with dignity, because many time disability uh, and the poverty, both things were together, and disability and poverty put together is a curse, I would say. So we decided to kind of identify some livelihood interventions for these people. So we train many of these people so that they can start some small enterprise. We train them to be, good to do some small enterprise in the form of some small shop or goattery or say dairy activity or some kind of craft activity, so that they have some source of earning, and we not only train them but we also give them some financial assistance through a government support. So in that particular year we could help around 600 people through this livelihood intervention, which help them to start their small enterprise in the form of small shop or small intervention, which gave them some kind of a sustainable income. So that effort was recognized, and the on the National Day of Disability, uh, the award was given to the district. So I would say it was a award to the collective effort by the team led by me, and that effort also inspired few other district magistrate to replicate that effort, and that effort was then carried forward to future as well.
Wonderful. Viewers, I think it is only pertinent to mention some of the other awards received by Sri Rajesh Patil. He has also been a recipient of the Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Manarega implementation in Mayurbhanj district. And the competition was among 530 districts. This was in 2014-15. He's also been a recipient. He got a national award for excellence in promotion of solar-based drinking water system as one of the 3 leading districts. This was in 2015-16. He won the Chief Minister Award for Excellence and Most Innovative Interventions in 2016. He got the Chief Minister's Award for Excellence and Innovation in Governance and Public Service Delivery twice in a row, in fact, in 2015 and 16 for gravity-based water supply and irrigation in remote, inaccessible areas and convergence for better livelihood through horticulture interventions. And he also received an award as one of the 5 districts doing excellent work in rural housing in 2015-16. There are various other recognition, including the Nobel laureate, Sri Kailash Satyarthi, recognizing his excellent work to make Mayurbhanj as India's first child labor-free district. He has featured in many shows in India, and he has also been a TEDx invitee, where he so beautifully spoke on importance of self-belief in life. It is available on YouTube, and many of you would like to watch. Going ahead, sir, and much of this you have already covered, but in very brief, what is your prescription for eradicating some of the social evils like child labor, and what are the challenges and how, according to you, these can be tackled, keeping in view the overarching theme of today's discussion, that is bureaucracy as a tool of social empowerment, and looking through your prism.
Yeah, I think we have to think about these interventions at various level, be it at the state level or district level, or even at the sub-district level. So I feel in all these cases, we can eradicate these social ills, and they are on one side we claim to be a nation which is going to be a developed country, and in the 21st century on one side we are IT superpower and the supercomputers and whatnot. A lot of things getting happen for people who have access to the better education, better facilities, and who better resources. and in the growing economy also, those who are able to invest, participate, they get the benefit of that. But there are sections of society and there are issues and problems which need to be seen in a human way, be it issues of tribals, maybe related to lands or displacement, or be it issues related with youth and vulnerable section in terms of education and other aspect also. Certain communities get lag behind. So I feel we have to go beyond slogans and go beyond the kind of stereotypes. We need to have the blueprint whereby responsibilities are being fixed. There are protocols whereby what is the role of what stakeholder, and there are and strict enforcement of that. If that happens, then certainly every obstacle can be crossed, and we can certainly make the transformative changes. So if we go down below, then the smaller is the area of operation, easier it is to implement these interventions. So if we think at the level of the district magistrate, for him, if we think about the district, then certainly I think he can mobilize the resources, he can inspire the team, and can certainly make any kind of initiative a success. Similarly, at the state level, certainly a political will is very, very essential. But for the bureaucrat to drive some kind of initiatives which will seeking the political attention and making it regular public discourse, bringing that into the public discourse is also very important. So I'm very positive. I feel, you know, as a bureaucrat, one can always play a very constructive role and bring about other stakeholders together for bringing out these transformations. So you may be working at any level, but if there is a passion and commitment, certainly we can make changes. So that is what I would say.
That is a great message, I think, a very effective message. Like you're known for speaking up your mind all the time and with such uh, sophistication and softness that it gets conveyed very, very effectively. Now, last few questions, sir. Uh, we all know, all have seen that how bureaucracy has turned far more efficient and transparent than what it used to be. Still, what do you think are the challenges at your level, at senior IAS level, that you think you still face, and how can these be negotiated with? You have some prescriptions, some recommendations, or some observations?
See, I would not comment on certain things which in a general manner. So what I would say is, at personal level, one has to accept that he is part of the system, whether it is good or bad. And having accepted that, we should create positive impacts, even if there are difficulties, even if there are challenges. We should pragmatically see how those are negotiated, and you when you leave the chair, things are better than what they were when you occupied the chair. That is one thing. Second is, I would say that your personal being should be separate from your official responsibilities. So your own egos or your issues should not create problem for delivering the services. And I think we should always see the bigger picture. and try and see how things can be better tomorrow. They may be worse today, but then instead of harping on what is not possible or what cannot be done, if we see what can be done, then I think life is much more easier. So I would say, there are innumerable challenges which will always be there. But what is important is your own understanding of the challenges and how you negotiate and move ahead. Because people have a lot of expectation, and they always look at any positive intervention with a lot of hope, and people do support when there are some positive interventions. So I'm very positive that uh, any bureaucrat at any level, he he can create huge impact and help people, and can bring about transformative changes.
Uh, Excellent, sir. Sir, I said it in the beginning also. You're a doting father and a very, very caring husband. What is your message to people who find it tough to balance personal and professional lives?
Yeah, I think discipline is the key. One has to manage time well, and there has to be a balance. Like, you should not balance for yourself, but you have to ensure that for all the people working with you and below you. So if you make it as a habit and be very disciplined about that, so be it your fitness, be it attending meeting on time, be meticulous about, prepare yourself before the meetings, have a very good follow up. Then uh, uh, when there are holidays, spend time with the family, be with the friends, so that basically helps you to energize and keep you motivated and inspired all the time. Otherwise you suddenly realize that you have lost something and your health is not supporting you, and you are not only trouble yourself, but you are trouble the others also in terms of calling them at odd hours.
True.
So I think all that is very very important. And for any young bureaucrat, if he inculcate these things in the beginning of his career, I think the set time is sufficient to bring about any uh, changes which we want to bring about through our work. For that, no extra effort or time is required. So that is what I believe. So as I said in the beginning, the discipline is very very essential. So be it the uh, working professional life or the personal life.
Very true. Absolutely. I'm sure there are many lessons that many from their professional lives can draw from you. Not only bureaucrats, but others as well. Um, so millions of IAS aspirants across the country look at you as a role model. What would be your 3 or 5 mantras to them? You have covered many of these, but just if you could summarize as key tips for them.
Yes, please. So see, the civil services has no longer the same charm which it used to have few decades back. But still, I would say it provides very good platform for any youth to kind of work for the people, bring about transformations. Having said that, one need to first understand whether one really is fitted into this job, because it needs a lot of patience, a lot of skills to maneuver in, to deal with people of all walk of life. And then sometimes the difficult situations like the political pressures and turmoils. And then you need to work all across the country. It is not that you are sitting in a cozy office room in a big city. Sometimes you are thrown to Nagaland or to Tripura or to Kerala, anywhere. So before deciding to write the exam, we should be very, very clear about all possibilities and what is that we want from these services and what is that you are going to get. So if you are very clear about that, I think then the life is very easy. Otherwise, there are a lot of people get frustrated and they realize that this is not the place where they wanted to go. This is not the way they want to see themselves. But I would, after these 15 years of service, I would still say that someone who has a passion for the public job and want to transform the lives of the people and want to change the way people live. For them, still, apart from the political system, bureaucracy is the only or one of the important, may not be the only, but one of the important platform through which we can do that. So I sincerely believe that. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent message for all those youngsters who only look at the positive side. I'm sure it is far better than many other services, but you should have a holistic understanding of how this service is all about and the kind of hard work that is required to get in there. Once you get in there, uh, Rajesh ji rightly says what are the challenges and how you should be prepare yourself. Thank you very much, Rajesh Patil sir. I think we celebrate a journey that began from Jalgaon and ended in jubilation of your being getting into the IAS, and the joy that you spread, I think, has been fabulous. We salute your perseverance. We salute your all the great work you do, and we wish you the very best for all that you are likely to do. You have come back to Maharashtra to be with your father who needs you at this time, and we wish you the very best. I thank all my viewers who joined us on our Facebook, on our Twitter handle, and also on Zoom. I thank my colleagues, Sweta Bharti, Pooja Rai, and Nana Jha for assisting in bringing about this beautiful conversation, and of course, Vigya Dwivedi with her creatives. Thank you all very much. Thank you, viewers.
So much,
Uh, at,
all the
at
viewers.
Bureaucrats India, we will continue to celebrate good stories and get great guests like Rajesh Patil sir. Thank you very much once again, all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much.